Speaker, Chief Governor, is that ready to... Go ahead whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Assistant Secretary Kevin Washburn, and thank you for being here today. I would like to start by thanking Chairman Cedric Conwell and the Mashpee-Wampanoag Council for allowing us to have this forum here today. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Chief, please introduce yourself for the record.
My name is Richard Velky, and I am the Chief of the Schaghticoke Tribal Nation located in Kent, Connecticut. The Schaghticoke Tribal Nation chooses not to submit any written testimony today because of the 60-day continuance, in which I appreciate very much that you notified us instead of tomorrow, because then everybody else has a chance to look our work over and rebut against it. So that was timely on our part. Unfortunately for the other four forums it wasn't, but we do appreciate it. You left the screen in a position that I was going to end with, but instead I think I'll begin with, because Chairman from Easterns did such a job of covering quite a bit on his veto power, that I don't have to hit on the same comments. But up there you have comments on the proposed rule of dues is September the 30th, 2014. Last year we testified or gave testimony in Maine on the Penobscot Reservation, and that closing period on comments was to be in August. Then it was extended until September, which was fine. Everybody had a chance to rebut. But 4 months after that, the governor from Connecticut, Governor Dan Malloy, walks a letter into the White House. His letter basically was demands on how he wanted to see this process handled, that it was affecting the state of Connecticut and his citizens, which I guess were not any of, and that it had to be changed to his likings. Now, I'm not saying that your department, Mr. Washburn, bowed to any of his changes, but I will say they mirrored a lot of what he had in his letter. And what he also, when they came out in print, seemed to be that the people that were being interviewed for the state of Connecticut, that represent the state of Connecticut as congressional leaders, it said that they were working behind the scenes on this for 9 months in Washington, D.C. I bring that up because that's exactly what happened to the Schaghticoke Tribal Nation back in 2005. In 2004, we were granted our federal recognition, and then we were attacked by the state of Connecticut, literally attacked by the state of Connecticut. An onslaught that never stopped, and it still continues today. And it seems every time these politicians from our state, this little state, gets involved, all the good work that you've been doing has a change in it. And the change is always against the Indians. He can recognize he has no problem recognizing the 2 tribes that have been federally recognized in our state, and that's great, and that's the way it should be. And that's the way it should be for the other 3 indigenous tribes that were recognized in the state of Connecticut. But we can't seem to get that message across to them. The state of Connecticut, along with a few other states, I say at least the senators, I believe there was 50 senators that signed on to a letter to do away with the name Washington Redskins, which I thought was powerful on their behalf. But I don't stand here today in front of you and try to pretend that I can understand how a name Washington Redskin offends them and they want to be politically correct, but yet they can hold genocide on the rest of the Indians in our state and nobody says a damn thing about it. state of Connecticut had a fiduciary responsibility, not just to its citizens, which we are, but they had outstanding fiduciary duties to protect the tribes in the state of Connecticut. We understand that the Attorney General's first job is to oversee for the citizens that he considers in his state, but we're not to be left behind. A fiduciary duty that cannot be upheld by the people that oversee the tribes in their state should be removed. And it should be handed to another state or to another jurisdiction that can properly represent us and we can have our voice heard. It's not happening. I ask you today to see that it does, because it's not a fair system for the tribes in the state. We're constantly being attacked by them. You know, what's going on here today is a sad thing with this veto power. To think, after 30 years of fighting with these guys, to be in the state of Connecticut, after 300 years of them holding our documents, our information, our overseers on our land and our people that help us not one bit to get through this federal recognition process, that today we have to ask their consent in order to move forward, because we would what you would consider be repetitioning. I don't look at this as a repetitioning. I look at this as restoring what was rightfully ours and stripped away by another government that we had to fight. One last thing, if I can, because I know I'm over my 3 minutes. We have 566 federally recognized tribes today, all deserving of their recognition. If every one of them tribes had to resubmit and get the consent from people that were against them, I wonder today if we would have a dozen. Don't allow it to happen. I ask you, Kevin, I ask your staff, stand strong with us. You're our protection. You're our Indian agency, not the state of Connecticut or any other state. Let them go get their own outside help. And you know what? For the money that they put into it, each and every tribe had to triple that money to fight whatever they did put into it. And yet we're still going to give them the right to give us their consent? No, we were here. They came later. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Velky.
Thank you. Chief.
My name is Reverend John Norwood. I'm Natchitoches Lenape. I am here speaking on behalf of the National Congress of American Indians Task Force on Federal Acknowledgement. I want to thank the Secretary for being here holding these consultations. Congratulate you on all your efforts, and to formally state that you are a man who has kept your promise to the task force and the Indian country. Also want to congratulate my brothers and sisters in the Mashpee Wampanoag Nation. I am thrilled to be standing in this wonderful edifice. Keep up the good work, and congratulations on all your progress. Thank you for hosting the event. I want to just simply formally state on behalf of the NCAI Task Force that the resolution portions that were read by the Chief of the Eastern Pequot, mentioned again in the comments from the Chairman from Scottico, that these comments are still in place, that the resolutions were neither changed or rescinded, so they are still the policy of the National Congress of American Indians. And while at the time the concept of a third-party veto was not even considered, given the current presentation, the task force has discussed this on several occasions, and we've even discussed it with you, sir. You are aware that we are of the position that any tribe that meets the criteria should not be derailed by the comments of any third party. And in the event that a tribe can show that there was inappropriate activity, third-party participation in the decision to decline or rescind their recognition, that they should have the opportunity to appeal yet again under the new rules, under the spirit of the new regulations. And that would be more consistent with the intent and the spirit of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People,
There you go.
which has been embraced by this nation with the Obama administration, that indeed the rights of Indigenous people need to be observed and respected, and their status within their countries has to be observed and respected, and the spirit of